There you go. It's the 10th of April and it's warm outside, so I've been stacking wood all morning, but now I'm going to quickly come into the studio and see what we have in this kiln. I've got some refires in here because my element gave out in the other kiln, but these are just first firings. This is that new chattering tool from artisanpotterytools.com. And Bill Wright owns that pottery, and he says mention VS2 and you get a discount on these tools. But there you go. This was that new very short tool, but the glazing on there is really nice, and that's the bright blue glaze that shows the texture up quite nicely. This is the blue, green, copper, red. And this has got tin in it, and the same textures on there, but it shows up a little less because of the tin, which is an opaque glaze. It's blue, green, copper, red because tin actually has to go in with the copper to make the copper red in a gas firing, which I don't do very often at all, maybe once every 2 years, 3 years. This is the apple green, which shows the texture up much better. And then bright blue. No, it was the matte turquoise over the top edge. And then some of the usual mugs, but they turned out really nice. Look at the runs in those. Almost too far on that one, but that's where the handle is, and it always used to do that. And I may have to sand or grind just a tiny little bit there, but the runs are just perfect on that one. That one's even better because it didn't go down just past the handle area. Tenbaku Gold, Bright Blue, and Oatmeal. Any oatmeal will do that. You can look back in my developing an oatmeal glaze video. Bright Blue, Oatmeal, and Variegated Blue. This one is a reverse. It was, and this is actually run a little bit. I might have to grind that one. Variegated Blue always ran, and I just mixed the new batch up, so it's probably a little thick. I'll have to water it down a little bit. But this is the Variegated Blue with Bright Blue and Oatmeal over it. Yeah, it's got a little wobble. I'm going to have to grind that one. And this one, which is why I don't do this very often, but these were orders, so somebody broke their mug. But these turned out very nice. Holy mackerel. Oh, I think that turned out pretty nice. And you've got the texture showing through where the blue is, and you've got the folk art white where it has that sort of orangey yellow look. And I rubbed the glaze back over those areas and then glazed the folk art white over so that it's over the regular clay rather than over the green and the blue. And I'm glad I did because it turned out really nice. So what? It's like an explosion, isn't it? The galaxy. Supernova. Oh, wow. Yeah, very nice. Yeah, I haven't made these in a very long time. I used to teach my class how to do it when I used to teach classes. And they always loved doing this project. Then we've got some more Tenbaku Gold. Another Tenbaku Gold. A little bit of grinding on that one too. I wonder what it's that. Wondering which one it was. Yeah, I did glaze it's got variegated. It's the new batch of Variegated Blue. I just mixed a new one up and it's a bit thick. Water down. And these were sponged with the yellow on the bottom because I like to think of these as my beach mugs. It's very popular in the summer season because it's the beach with the ocean. And I just sponged the yellows over the bottom rather than dipping because that glaze flakes if it gets on the top of another glaze. But by sponging it actually doesn't flake. And that's my bright yellow. I don't use very often, but I think I did a few of these. I had an order from somebody for these too. Those turned out really pretty. The texturing from that tool is on there too. So artisanpotterytools.com. Very nice. And there's another beach mug. Blue, green, copper, red, plus the sandy yellow balls. Feels like it didn't stick to the kiln shelf. Good. And this is out of pugged clay too. One of them was out of pugged clay and the other two were new clay. So I think this was the first one I made. But once again, the texture, it's supposed to be the garden. It's a cottage garden. And then you have, because I live on the ocean, that's why I did the sort of wavy look for the blue. A garden on the ocean. It turned out very nice. So this project is really a nice project to do, but you'll have to get used to the floppy clay and judging just how soft it should be. I usually roll the clay out right from the slab roller and then turn it over upside down. Give it a couple of hours to stiffen up a little bit from being rolled out, and then it should be fine. But bright blue on the outside, and then I've got matte turquoise, apple green, and bright blue, and then rubbed off the top areas a little bit just outside so you don't breathe that dust in, and then just glazed folk art white by stamping over the top. Really pretty. It's an explosion of color. Ah, I remember these were somebody ordered these. Little cafe au lait bowls with Tenmuku gold, which didn't run on these. Perfect, because I didn't stilt them. There you go. If you see anything you like on this video, you can screenshot it and send it to me. And even on my website, that's how I do. I don't have a retail website, so you just screenshot off the website, send me an email, vsmithpots@eastlink.ca. It's at the end of this video, and then I can tell you whether I still have the piece. Here's two more of the sandy beach ones. These turned out really well too. The textures there on the bottom. This one was the lemon yellow stamped over the top, and this one was my regular oatmeal yellow stamped over the top. And then another one of these variegated blue ones, which every one of them I'll just have to grind a little bit under the handle. There we go. This is some little experiments in mugs in the landscape series that I do. I call them the Cove series, and I do a winter version, summer version, and now I just did a nighttime version. So there you go. That's apple green, matte turquoise, and dark blue over the top there. And here's another one of those. So it's kind of interesting. We'll see how well they go. People like bright colors on you living on the ocean here. Well, I thought that was a blowout, but there's a little speck of something. It must all rust off the handle when you open the kiln. All these handles seem to rust. I wonder if they would just use steel or something. But okay, we did some chattering in the video. I think I just posted this. But the bright blue there covered it up quite a bit, but it's still there. So it gives the surface some nice interest there. Bright blue and oatmeal over this one, and variegated blue. This is a nice bowl, and the chattering showed up on this one. What's the bottom look like? Yeah, pretty good. No glazed runs. This is apple green. Let's get you posted a little bit better here. Apple green and matte turquoise over the top edge, over the top of the apple green. And the center, I think I just sponged some apple green in there. But the chattering really showed up well with the apple green. That's a good glaze for the chattering. And the chattering really looks good on the inside there. And I stamped some bright blue over the top of the, I had turquoise in there and then stamped some bright blue over it. So matte turquoise, apple green, and sponge stamped some bright blue. But that's nice. Yeah, that one is very nice. And then I fire my lids on stilts. I already looked at this, so I know it fits. They're small casseroles, small baking dishes basically. And out of the speckle clay. But it's bright blue, variegated blue and oatmeal. Nice jar. Casseroles. I should have done a video making these. I had such a backlog of videos. I think I was like 4 or 5 behind. I posted them and then had 4 or 5 going at a time. So yeah, that's good. So firing on stilts, that's what I mean. I fire them on those. And the speckle clay, I was wondering whether it would warp, but it didn't. So and there's a little bit of backwash I've got to get off there. Variegated blue and oatmeal. Actually, I put variegated blue and then bright blue and oatmeal over the top edge on these. Yeah, my thumb really got a big whack yesterday. I did my other thumb years ago, but I was rebuilding the fence around my vegetable garden, and I was hammering the stake in and then got distracted just for a second. That's all it took. But that's a nice Tenmoku Gold, variegated blue and oatmeal over the top. Tenmoku Gold always goes dark over the speckle clay, although you can get a little bit of the speckles coming in on, but the other side doesn't have that. But on the lid you have speckles pretty much all the way around where the Tenmoku Gold is. And I have these. This is the order. A lady, if she sees this video, these are your little coffee bowls with a handle. Very nice. It's apple green and the purple over the top of the apple green. Actually, that's a nice combination. And I did fluting just to make it look even better. Isn't that diamond fluting nice? And there's another bright blue one. That's very nice. The blue is my most popular color. Blue, bright blue, floating blue, variegated blue and oatmeal. Yeah, it's hard to pick things up without the thumb. Another lid. I'll wait for the jar to come out. Okay, here's the bottom for that green one. So apple green, turquoise, matte turquoise over the top. Nice. And 2 more bowls for that lady who wanted these colors. Cafe au lait. I think she only wanted 1 of these. I always make extras. One good tip, always make 2 of something in pottery, because you never know if the one you're making for the order is going to work. But that looks nice. And I have some more of these trays that I made. I think I just posted this video too. There's some more of the trays. I did some really poured glazing, basically. Different colors of glaze, just poured. So bright blue, matte turquoise, apple green, folk art white. And these actually work really nicely. Still again, it's actually sponge stamped the center. It covered up the texture big time. You can still see it. Let's see if you can see the, yeah, there you go. You can see the reflection because there was a strong texture, but I put that glaze on really thick. And then folk art white and matte turquoise and apple green. But don't you like them? I think these look nice. Okay, some more trays. So I just made a lot of trays. That video with the floppy balls, basically, where I made all the trays first. And then after I did the floppy balls, I made a bunch more trays. So same four glazes: apple green, matte turquoise, bright blue, and folk art white. With stamping. Lots of textural stamping. Fish on that one. Very pretty glazes. I used the same four glazes when I was doing all of these, except this one I didn't put any folk art white in. Fish again. Okay, here's another tray. It's supposed to be the ocean floor with some fish floating above. That's a nice texture in the center too. So pouring glazes, stamping with a sponge, and that's it. All of these glazes were just so you don't need a lot of glaze to actually do things like this. I have 5-gallon buckets of almost everything, but you could get away with just pints of glaze and do things like this. Well, that one's interesting. Got like little checkerboards in there. Yeah, I think I probably dipped the edges of this one. What's it like on the back? No. Right at the bottom of the kiln. The handle's got a little of the roughness of the clay coming through there. I'll just have to lightly sand that a little bit. I can feel sand. But the glaze went so matte on the handle, should have got it thicker. There you go, the blue is so much nicer on the handle. That's the folk art white. I have to remember that one. Tends to leave a little, because I put ilmenite in it. It seems like the ilmenite bleeds through. But the textures are very nice with these. There we go, that's the end of. So I think these turned out pretty good. You know, hand building is, I probably could still hand build even with this thumb. But anyway, it's worth doing some hand building because you don't have to learn how to throw and all that. And so not everybody feels comfortable throwing on the wheel, and it's a hard thing to learn. It takes years. So I would say that you could do a whole bunch of pottery without having the throwing skill. Yeah, I'm quite happy I'll do nice. Hope you enjoyed looking at those. I've got another 2 kilns to unload. Okay, this is my little 4 cubic foot kiln. So there's a Tenmoku Gold. Look at the signature on the one. It always looks so nice on Tenmoku Gold. And then you got the gold, really nice on the inside. This had a lot of texture, but Tenmoku Gold is not good for texture. Here's some more of the other landscape pieces that I was trying different ways of doing it. So here you've got the land and the ocean at the bottom. Same again with this one. Oh, there's a different one. Folk art white with apple green, bright blue. Another one with the ocean and with the land above. They kind of just make you think of landscape when you look at these pieces. They could be the Yorkshire Dales. I mean, it could be anything, you know. Just there's the bottom of another Tenmoku Gold. baking dish. There should be a lid somewhere around for this piece. So there you go, that's how I stilt fire them. And if I can do it without hurting my thumb, you just pull the stilt off. And once again, there was a lot of texture on the lid. You don't really get to see much of it. You can just see it poking through a little bit, the way the glaze drops into the crevices. And there's another bright blue, unlike one in the other kiln. Bright blue lid with variegated blue over the top and a touch of oatmeal. And once again, you can just, the bright blue lets you see the texture. All of the texture is from Bill Wright's chattering tool, so it's artisanpotterytools.com. Like I got a mouse grey one here. Oh, that's nice. The texture showed really well through the mouse grey. Oh, that came right off the lid, off the stilt. And you can see the texture on this mouse grey quite nicely as well. Whenever you stilt, I just have to sandpaper off these little pinpoint holes that the stilt makes. And this must have the jaw beneath. Variegated blue with bright blue and oatmeal. There was one of these in the other kiln too. That's nice. Stilt's coming off really nicely. I watered my variegated blue down. You can see the texture showing through there too. Seems to work really well with variegated blue. And this is the apple green and the matte turquoise, which was this lid. So we have 100% success on the lids. And there's a little wobble on that one. Just a tiny little hint of a warpage there, but it's not too bad. I'd rather it be totally flat. Alright, that's it for that kiln. Now I have a cone for clear glaze firing to unload. Okay, so why do I use cone 4 for my clear glaze, which is what I'm going to unload now? I have found that at cone 4, a lot of the colors, mason stains and underglazes, still retain that sort of brightness that you get when you actually do earthenware. But earthenware I don't like doing because it's too low a fire, and it does work fine. I mean, I've got pieces, I make pieces myself in earthenware for my wife, and them would more sort of, I guess they would break easier a little bit, but you know, it's just a choice. I mean, they last fairly long too. I just think that stoneware is a bit harder and more durable. So color brightness is why we find a cone 4, and it's a different temperature glaze that bubbles if you go to cone 5. So it really, you know, needs to be no higher than cone 4, which would make my life very much simpler if it went to cone 6. But anyway, the colors would be faded out. Let's see what we have. And of course, now I've got all black and white pieces. Color doesn't even matter, does it? So there's some others in here. So I said I wasn't going to make these very much longer, but I talked myself into making some because people started asking and ordering the cat pieces. I made these too many years. But these are slips, not underglazes. And my stencil technique is in earlier videos, where there's a landscape bowl and something else I did as well. I think it was black and white dogs to show you how to put paper stencils down. This may be the only time I do this. Here's some more of my ocean scene. This is just 2 layers, you know, basically paper stencils on white clay, and then paint the clay with a slip or an underglaze over the top and take the paper off. Same again for this one. This one is a commission. Somebody wanted to have something said on the bottom of it, so I stamped their motto, whatever it is, on the bottom. And then Another slip stencil ball, and there's the chattering on the bottom. So that worked out really nice. This clear glaze showed it up quite nicely. You usually need a little pigment in your glaze to make that show up. And then more stencils. These are very hard to do, and you know, there's so many things that can go wrong. But this is 4 layers of colored slip with paper stenciling in between. I invented this technique back in 1983. Yeah, well, I did it for the first time in 83. Nobody was doing this stencil work back then. And then crows. I got a whole bunch of crow tiles. Somebody wanted a crow tile, so I made them a set of crow tiles. Well, this one looks like, when you carve the black, you brush it off the debris off the surface. It looks like 2 things smudged there as I was brushing it off. So that one has a permanent blemish, but the others look nice. I only wanted one anyway. And they are totally flat, as I've shown you before in my videos how I do tile. Crow tankards. And there's a whole bunch of these, so I'll stop there because these are all very similar. 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, 3 for a girl, and 4 for a boy. And here we go, some more crow balls. That's basically spray or paint the bowl or mug black, put some paper stencils over the black, and then cover the black with the white while the paper's still on the black, and then peel off the paper, and you've got a black shape against a white background. If you could get black clay, which I know you can, put the paper straight over the black and then airbrush them white. Trouble is that clay goes to a higher temperature than this does, so that's why I don't do it. It's a cone 6 clay. And I'm not sure what they put in the black clay to make it black, so I'm a little nervous about buying black clay. And there we got some more stencil pieces. Four layers of slip with the chattering on the bottom of every one. Another one of the green ones. So the chattering makes it just look nice when you turn it over, just think that you've taken care of the bit that most people don't look at. As potters, we always turn everything upside down to look at the bottom. At craft fairs, that happened often to the coffee mug I was drinking out of. Right. Okay, then we move over to the bigger bowls. So, I don't make these pieces very often, but I decided to spend like a week or 2 just making these. It should give me enough inventory for the whole season. These are more expensive pieces, so people don't buy them as fast anyway. I fired them on stilts. There's the 3 mark. Ouch! You've got to make sure I don't rest on my thumb. Stilt marks there. So basically, this is another reason for going to cone 4. I seem to be able to get away with the clip pieces not warping. If it's a bowl, if it's a plate on stilts, it still warps. But cone 4, I can keep the. Look at that! It's totally flat. Fired on a stilt, chattering all the way around on the bowl. And then same, more cat mugs all the way down. We got cat mugs. I thought I'd get a few horses as well. Anyway, these are all the way down, cat mugs. And it didn't fall off that time. See, that's the stilt holding it up. And there's the chattering all the way around. And the paper stenciling on the inside. comes off. So it's been a few years since I had a lot of these pieces. It's just I can make about a dozen regular stoneware pieces in the time it takes to make one of these pieces. That's why I just don't want to make them much anymore. It's okay if I'm stuck for something to do and got lots of everything else, just for some diversity. But time-wise, these pieces are just massively time-consuming. And they have to be made over 2 days because you have to wait a couple of hours, sometimes a whole day if it's humid, to actually get the layers of slip to dry. Because you have to put the stencils down when the slip goes matte. You can't do it on a sort of liquid slip. It has to be once it gets a bit dry. So in a humid place, you'd be waiting a whole day just for one layer of slip to dry. And I live on the ocean, so on a humid day, it is really humid here. But luckily we don't get super hot. I mean, we get into the upper 80s in the summer, that's hot enough. Anyway, that's the last of the kilns. If anybody wants any of these, you can find these sometimes, oh, I shouldn't tell you. You can find them on Etsy. Is it Etsy? No, it's eBay. That's right. I actually see these pieces every so often go up for sale on eBay from people who are downsizing their households. And one lady sent me a picture of one once. It was dated 1987. But anyway, they're called prowlers in about 5 different colors, I guess I do. But not very often.